Pierre-Augustin Caron de Beaumarchais, French, P.J. Beaumains, the 24th of January 1732 to 18 May 1799, was a French polymath. At various times in his life, he was a watchmaker, inventor, playwright, musician, diplomat, spy, publisher, horticulturist, arms dealer, satirist, financier, and revolutionary, both French and American. Born a provincial watchmaker's son, Beaumarchais rose in French society and became influential in the court of Louis XV as an inventor and music teacher. He made a number of important business and social contacts, played various roles as a diplomat and spy, and had earned a considerable fortune before a series of costly court battles jeopardized his reputation. An early French supporter of American independence, Beaumarchais lobbied the French government on behalf of the American rebels during the American War of Independence. Beaumarchais oversaw covert aid from the French and Spanish governments to supply arms and financial assistance to the rebels in the years before France's formal entry into the war in 1778. He later struggled to recover money he had personally invested in the scheme. Beaumarchais was also a participant in the early stages of the French Revolution. He is probably best known, however, for his theatrical works, especially the three Figaro plays. Early life. Beaumarchais was born Pierre-Augustin Caron in the Rue Saint-Denis, Paris on 24 January 1732. He was the only boy among the 6 surviving children of André Charles Caron, a watchmaker from Meaux. The family had previously been Huguenots, but had converted to Roman Catholicism in the wake of the revocation of the Edict of Nantes and the increased persecution of Protestants that followed. The family was comfortably middle class and Beaumarchais had a peaceful and happy childhood. As the only son, he was spoiled by his parents and sisters. He took an interest in music and played several instruments. Though born a Catholic, Beaumarchais retained a sympathy for Protestants and would campaign throughout his life for their civil rights. From the age of 10, Beaumarchais had some schooling at a country school, where he learned some Latin. 2 years later, Beaumarchais left school at 12 to work as an apprentice under his father and learn the art of watchmaking. He may have used his own experiences during these years as the inspiration for the character of Cherubin when he wrote The Marriage of Figaro. He generally neglected his work, and at one point was evicted by his father, only to be later allowed back after apologizing for his poor behavior. At the time, pocket watches were commonly unreliable for timekeeping and were worn more as fashion accessories. In response to this, Beaumarchais spent nearly a year researching improvements. In July 1753, at the age of 21, he invented an escapement for watches that allowed them to be made substantially more accurate and compact. The first man to take an interest in this new invention was Jean-André Lepaute, the royal clockmaker in France. If there was a clock chiming in the wealthy homes of Paris, you can bet Lepaute built it himself. Lepaute had been a mentor to Beaumarchais after discovering the boy's talent in a chance encounter. He encouraged him as he worked on the new invention, earned his trust, and promptly stole the idea for himself. You can imagine Beaumarchais' surprise when he read in the September issue of Le Mercure de France that Lepaute had just invented the most wonderful mechanism for a more portable clock. Beaumarchais was enraged. "C'est normal," said his father. "C'est comme ça. It's normal for the upper class to step on those beneath them." Well, Beaumarchais did not want any of that life. He wrote a strongly worded letter to that same newspaper defending the invention as his own and urging the Royal Academy of Sciences to see the proof for themselves. "In the interests of truth and my reputation," he says, I cannot let such an infidelity go by in silence, and must claim as mine the invention of this device. After further examination, the Academy indeed ruled that the mechanism was his and not Lepaut's. The public had just watched this young nobody take down the biggest clockmaker in Europe. Beaumarchais had become a celebrity overnight. One of his greatest feats was a watch mounted on a ring, made for Madame de Pompadour, a mistress of Louis XV. The affair first brought Beaumarchais to national attention and introduced him to the royal court. At Versailles, Louis XV was impressed with Beaumarchais's skill and audacity, and hastily hired him as the court's royal watchmaker. Rise to influence, marriage and new name. In 1755 Beaumarchais met Madeleine Catherine Aubertine, a widow, and married her the following year. She helped Beaumarchais secure a royal office, and he gave up watchmaking. Shortly after his marriage, he adopted the name Pierre-Augustin Caron de Beaumarchais, which he derived from Le Bois Marchais, the name of a piece of land belonging to his new wife. He believed the name sounded grounder and more aristocratic, and adopted at the same time an elaborate coat of arms. His wife died less than a year later, which plunged him into financial problems, and he ran up large debts. Royal patronage. Beaumarchais' problems were eased when he was appointed to teach Louis XV's four daughters the harp. His role soon grew, and he became a musical advisor for the royal family. In 1759, Caron met Joseph Paris d'Averny, an older and wealthy entrepreneur. Beaumarchais assisted him in gaining the king's approval for the new military academy he was building, the École Royale Militaire, and in turn d'Averny promised to help make him rich. The two became very close friends and collaborated on many business ventures. Assisted by d'Averny, Beaumarchais acquired the title of Secretary-Councillor to the king in 1760–61, thereby gaining access to French nobility. This was followed by the purchase in 1763 of a second title, the office of Lieutenant General of Hunting, a position which oversaw the royal parks. Around this time, he became engaged to Pauline Le Breton, who came from a plantation-owning family from Saint-Domingue, but broke it off when he discovered she was not as wealthy as he had been led to believe. Visit to Madrid. In April 1764, Beaumarchais began a 10-month sojourn in Madrid, ostensibly to help his sister, Lisette, who had been abandoned by her fiancé, Clavijo, an official at the Ministry of War. While in Spain, he was mostly concerned with striking business deals for d'Averny. They sought exclusive contracts for the newly acquired Spanish colony of Louisiana and attempted to gain the right to import slaves to the Spanish colonies in the Americas. Beaumarchais went to Madrid with a letter of introduction from the Duc de Choiseul, who was now his political patron, hoping to secure Clavijo's support for his business deals by binding him by marriage. Beaumarchais initially shamed Clavijo into agreeing to marry Lisette, but when further details emerged about Clavijo's conduct, the marriage was called off. Beaumarchais's business deals dragged on, and he spent much of his time soaking up the atmosphere of Spain, which would become a major influence on his later writings. Although he befriended important figures such as the foreign minister Grimaldi, his attempts to secure the contracts for d'Averny eventually came to nothing, and he went home in March 1765. Although Beaumarchais returned to France with little profit, he had managed to acquire new experience, musical ideas, and ideas for theatrical characters. Beaumarchais considered turning the affair into a play, but decided to leave it to others, including Goethe, who wrote Clavijo in 1774. Playwright. Beaumarchais hoped to be made consul to Spain, but his application was rejected. Instead, he concentrated on developing his business affairs and began to show an interest in Writing plays. He had already experimented in writing short farces for private audiences, but he now had ambitions to write for the theatre. His name as a writer was established with his first dramatic play, Eugénie, which premiered at the Comédie Française in 1767. This was followed in 1770 by another drama, Les Deux Amis, the Figaro plays. Beaumarchais's Figaro plays are Le Barbier du Séville, Le Mariage de Figaro, and La Mère Coupable. Figaro and Count Almaviva. The two characters Beaumarchais most likely conceived in his travels in Spain were, with Rosine, later the Countess Almaviva, the only ones present in all three plays. They are indicative of the change in social attitudes before, during, and after the French Revolution. Figaro and Almaviva first appeared in Le Sacristain, which he wrote around 1765 and dubbed an interlude, imitating the Spanish style. Naturally, this thinly veiled government criticism did not go without opposition. Upon first reading a manuscript of Beaumarchais's play, King Louis XVI stated that, "This man mocks everything that must be respected in a government," and refused to let it be performed. To a lesser degree, the Figaro plays are semi-autobiographical. Don Guzman Bridison, Le Mariage, and Béguias, Le Mire, were caricatures of two of Beaumarchais's real-life adversaries, Goesman and Bergasse. The page Cherubin, Le Mariage, resembled the youthful Beaumarchais, who did contemplate suicide when his love was to marry another. Suzanne, the heroine of Le Mariage and Le Mire, was modelled after Beaumarchais's third wife, Marie-Thérèse de Villemorlas. Meanwhile, some of the Count monologues reflect on the playwright's remorse over his numerous sexual exploits. Le Barbier premiered in 1775. Its sequel, Le Mariage, was initially passed by the censor in 1781, but was soon banned from being performed by Louis XVI after a private reading. Queen Marie Antoinette lamented the ban, as did various influential members of her entourage. Nonetheless, the king was unhappy with the play's satire on the aristocracy and overruled the queen's entreaties to allow its performance. Over the next 3 years, Beaumarchais gave many private readings of the play, as well as making revisions to try to pass the censor. The king finally relented and lifted the ban in 1784. The play premiered that year and was enormously popular even with aristocratic audiences. Mozart's opera premiered just 2 years later. Beaumarchais's final play, Le Mire, premiered in 1792 in Paris, in homage to the great French playwright Molière. Beaumarchais is also dubbed Le Mire, the other Tartuffe. All three Figaro plays enjoyed great success, and are still frequently performed today in theatres and opera houses. Court battles. The death of Duvernay on 17 July 1770 triggered a decade of turmoil for Beaumarchais. A few months earlier, the two had signed a statement cancelling all debts that Beaumarchais owed Duvernay, about £75,000, and granting Beaumarchais the modest sum of £15,000. Duvernay's sole heir, Count de la Blache, took Beaumarchais to court, claiming the signed statement was a forgery. Although the 1772 verdict favoured Beaumarchais, it was overturned on appeal the following year by a judge, a magistrate named Goesman, whom Beaumarchais tried in vain to bribe. At the same time, Beaumarchais was also involved in a dispute with the Duc de Chaulnes over the Duke's mistress, which resulted in Beaumarchais being thrown into jail from February to May 1773. La Blache took advantage of Beaumarchais' court absence and persuaded Goesman to order Beaumarchais to repay all his debts to Duvernay, plus interest and all legal expenses. To garner public support, Beaumarchais published a 4-part pamphlet entitled Memoires contre Goesman. The action made Beaumarchais an instant celebrity. For the public at the time saw Beaumarchais as a champion for social justice and liberty. Goeßmann countered Beaumarchais's accusations by launching a lawsuit of his own. The verdict was equivocal. On 26 February 1774, both Beaumarchais and Mme. Goeßmann, who had taken the bribe from Beaumarchais, were sentenced to blame, meaning they were nominally deprived of their civil rights. Naturally, Beaumarchais followed few of the restrictions placed upon him. Magistrate Goeßmann was removed from his post. At the same time, Goeßmann's verdict in the Leblanc case was overturned. The Goeßmann case was so sensational that the judges left the courtroom through a back door to avoid the large, angry mob waiting in front of the courthouse. American Revolution. Before France officially entered the war in 1778, Beaumarchais played a major role in delivering French munitions, money and supplies to the American army. In order to secretly funnel aid to the rebels, he helped set up a fictitious business called Horticulturist Company to restore his civil rights. Beaumarchais pledged his services to Louis XV. He traveled to London, Amsterdam and Vienna on various secret missions. His first mission was to travel to London to destroy a pamphlet, Les Mémoires Secrets d'un Femme Publique, which Louis XV considered a libel of one of his mistresses, Madame du Barry. Beaumarchais was sent to London to persuade the French spy Chevalier d'On to return home. But while there he began gathering information on British politics and society. Britain's colonial situation was deteriorating, and in 1775 fighting broke out between British troops and American rebels. Beaumarchais became a major source of information about the rebellion for the French government, and sent a regular stream of reports with exaggerated rumors of the size of the success of the rebel forces blockading Boston. Once back in France, Beaumarchais began work on a new operation. Louis XVI, who did not want to break openly with Britain, allowed Beaumarchais to found a commercial enterprise, Horticulturist Company, supported by the French and Spanish crowns, that supplied the American rebels with weapons, munitions, clothes and provisions, all of which would never be paid for. This policy came to fruition in 1777 when John Burgoyne's army capitulated at Saratoga to a rebel force largely clothed and armed by the supplies Beaumarchais had been sending. It marked a personal triumph for him. Beaumarchais was injured in a carriage accident while racing into Paris with news of Saratoga. Beaumarchais had dealt with Silas Deane, an acting member of the Committee of Secret Correspondence in the Second Continental Congress. For these services, the French Parliament reinstated Beaumarchais's civil rights in 1776. In 1778, Beaumarchais' hopes were fulfilled when the French government agreed to the Treaty of Amity and Commerce and the Treaty of Alliance. France officially entered the American War of Independence soon after, followed by Spain in 1779 and the Dutch Republic in 1780. The Voltaire Revival. Shortly after the death of Voltaire in 1778, Beaumarchais set out to publish Voltaire's complete works, many of which were banned in France. He bought the rights to most of Voltaire's many manuscripts from the publisher Charles-Joseph Pancook in February 1779. To evade French censorship, he set up printing presses in Kiel, Germany. He bought the complete foundry of the famous English type designer John Baskerville from his widow, and also purchased 3 paper mills. 70 volumes were published between 1783 and 1790. While the venture proved a financial failure, Beaumarchais was instrumental in preserving many of Voltaire's later works which otherwise might have been lost. More court battles and the French Revolution. It was not long before Beaumarchais crossed paths again with the French legal system. In 1787, he became acquainted with Mme. Cormon, who was implicated and imprisoned in an adultery suit, which was filed by her husband to expropriate her dowry. The matter went to court, with Beaumarchais siding with Mme. Cormon, and M. Cormon assisted by a celebrity lawyer, Nicolas Bergasse. On 2 April 1790, M. Cormon and Bergasse were found guilty of calumny, slander, but Beaumarchais's reputation was also tarnished. Meanwhile, the French Revolution broke out. Beaumarchais was no longer quite the idol he had been a few years before, as he thought the excesses of the revolution were endangering liberty. He was financially successful, mainly from supplying drinking water to Paris, and had acquired ranks in the French nobility. In 1791, he took up a lavish residence across from where the Bastille once stood. He spent under a week in prison during August 1792 for criticizing the government, and was released only 3 days before a massacre took place in the prison where he had been detained. Nevertheless, he pledged his services to the new republic. He attempted to purchase 60,000 rifles for the French Revolutionary Army from Holland, but was unable to complete the deal. Exile and death. While he was out of the country, Beaumarchais was falsely declared an émigré, a loyalist of the old regime, by his enemies. He spent 2.5 years in exile, mostly in Germany, before his name was removed from the list of proscribed émigrés. He returned to Paris in 1796, where he lived out the remainder of his life in relative peace. He is buried in the Père-Lachaise cemetery in Paris. Boulevard Beaumarchais in Paris is named after him. Operas. In 1786, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart composed an opera, Les Noces di Figaro, based on the marriage of Figaro, with a libretto by Lorenzo da Ponte based on the play. Several composers including Paisiello wrote operas based on the Barber of Seville. Rossini's 1816 version is his most successful work and still often performed. Beaumarchais was also the librettist for Antonio Salieri's opera Terrari, which premiered in Paris in 1787. Private life. Beaumarchais married 3 times. His first wife was Madeleine Catherine Franquet, née Acuti or Bertine, whom he married on the 22nd of November 1756. She died under mysterious circumstances only 10 months later. He married Geneviève Madeleine Lévesque, née Acuti Wattebald, in 1768. Again, the second Mme. de Beaumarchais died under mysterious circumstances 2 years later, though most scholars believed she actually suffered from tuberculosis. Before her death in 1770, she bore a son, Augustin, but he died in 1772. Beaumarchais lived with his lover, Marie-Thérèse de Willemorlas, for 12 years before she became his third wife in 1786. Together they had a daughter, Eugénie. Beaumarchais was accused by his enemies of poisoning his first 2 wives in order to lay claim to their family inheritance. Beaumarchais, though having no shortage of lovers throughout his life, was known to care deeply for both his family and close friends. However, Beaumarchais also had a reputation of marrying for financial gain, and both Franquet and Lévesque had previously married into wealthy families. While there was insufficient evidence to support the accusations, whether or not the poisonings took place is still the subject of debate. List of works. 1760s, various one-act comedies. Parades. For private staging. Les Déportés de la Halle et du Gros Caillou. Colin et Colette. Les Bottes de Sept Lieues. Jean Bette la Foy. OEIL pour OEIL. Lorette. 1765. Le Sacristain. Interlude. precursor to Le Barbier du Séville. 1767 Eugénie, drama, premiered at the Comédie Française. 1767 Le récit sur le genre dramatique sérieux. 1770 Les deux Amos ou le négociant de Lyon, drama, premiered at the Comédie Française. 1773 Le Barbier du Séville ou La précaution inutile, comedy, premiered on 3 January 1775 at the Comédie Française. 1774 Mémoires contre Goesman. 1775 La lettre modérée sur la chute et la critique du Barbier du Séville. 1778 La folle journée ou le mariage de Figaro, comedy, premiered on 27 April 1784 at the Comédie Française. 1784 Préface du mariage de Figaro. 1787 Terrari, opera with music by Antonio Salieri, premiered at the Opéra de Paris. Full text. 1792 Le Mere Coupable ou L'After Tartuffe, drama, premiered on 26 June at the Théâtre du Marais. 1799 Voltaire et J'écoute Christ, in 2 articles. List of related works. Clavigo. 1774. A tragedy by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe based on Beaumarchais's experiences in Spain. Il Barbier di Siviglia. Ovvero la precauzione inutile. 1782. Music by Giovanni Paisiello. Revised in 1787. Le Noce di Figaro. 1786. An opera based on the title play. Libretto by Lorenzo da Ponte and music by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Tarveselli danali Matic Ekshazeni. 1790. By Anton Thomas Linhart. A play adapted from Le Mariage de Figaro. Il Barbier di Siviglia. 1796. An opera based on the title play. Music by Nicolas Isarard. La Paz Aggiornata. Ovvero il matrimonio di Figaro. 1799. An opera based on the title play. Libretto by Gaetano Rossi. And music by Marcos Portugal. Il Barbier di Siviglia. 1816. An opera based on the title play. Libretto by Cesare Sterbini. And music by Gioacchino Rossini. I giù Figaro ossia il soggetto di una commedia. 1820. An opera based on the play Les Deux Figaro ou le sujet de comédie by Honoré Antoine Richaud. Martelli. Libretto by Felice Romani. And music by Michel Carafa. I giù Figaro ossia il soggetto di una commedia. 1835. An opera based on the play Les Deux Figaro ou le sujet de comédie by Honoré Antoine Richaud. Martelli. Libretto by Felice Romani. And music by Saverio Mercadante. Cherubin. 1905. An opera based on the title role. Music by Jules Massenet. Libretto by Francis de Croisset and Henry Kane. Die Fuchsia in Weinberg. Proud Destiny. Waffen für America. Foxes in the Vineyard. 1947-48. Written by Lion Fuchswanger, a novel mainly about Beaumarchais and Benjamin Franklin beginning in 1776's Paris. Beaumarchais. 1950. A comedy written by Sacha Guitry. Le Mere Coupable. 1966. Opera based on the title play. Music and libretto by Darius Milhaud. The Ghosts of Versailles. 1991. Opera based loosely on Le Mere Coupable. Music by John Corigliano. Libretto by William M. Hoffman, in which Beaumarchais and Marie Antoinette are principal characters. Den Brotzliga Modern. 1991. Opera based on Le Mere Coupable. Music by Inga Wickstrom. Libretto by Inga Wickstrom and Michael Hylan. Beaumarchais Excellent. 1996. Film based on Sacha Guitry's play. Directed by Edouard Molinaro. Further reading. Bazoun. Jacques From Dawn to Decadence. HarperCollins. 2000. pp. 399-404. Base. Streeter. Beaumarchais in the American Revolution. Studies in Intelligence 14. 1970. 1-1. Online. CIA Report. Gaines. James R. For Liberty and Glory. Washington. Lafayette and the Revolutions. Norton. 2007. Grendel. Frederic. Beaumarchais. The Man Who Was Figaro. MacDonald and Janes. 1977. Howarth. William D. Beaumarchais and the Theatre. Routledge. 2008. Lever. Morris. Beaumarchais. A Biography. Farrar, Straus and Giroux. 2009. Benjamin Ivory's Review. 2009. Of English Translation of Biography. 2. By Morris Lever of Beaumarchais. Kite. Elizabeth S. Beaumarchais and the War of American Independence. 1918. Online. Morton, Brian N. and Donald C. Spinelli. Beaumarchais in the American Revolution. Lexington Books. 2003. Morton, Brian N. Roderick Horteles to the Secret Committee. An unpublished French policy statement of 1777. French Review. 1977. 875-890. In JSTOR. Paul, Joel Richard, Unlikely Allies. How a Merchant, a Playwright, and a Spy Saved the American Revolution. Riverhead Books. Penguin Group. Ratamanis, Janice Bernhards, and William Robert Irwin. The Comic Style of Beaumarchais. Greenwood Press. 1961. Schiff, Stacy. Benjamin Franklin and the Birth of America. Bloomsbury. 2006. Stille, Charles J. Beaumarchais and the Lost Million. The Pennsylvania Magazine of History and Biography. 1887. 11 No. 1 pp. 1-36. In JSTOR. Sungalowski, Joseph. Beaumarchais. New York. Twain. 1974. Unger, Harlow Giles. Improbable Patriot. The Secret History of Monsieur de Beaumarchais, the French playwright who saved the American Revolution. University Press of New England. 2011. 260 pages. York. Neil L. Clandestinade and the American Revolutionary War Effort. A Re-examination. Military Affairs. The Journal of Military History, including Theory and Technology. 1979. 26-30. In JSTOR. Fictional. Lion Feuchtwanger. Proud Destiny. 1947. Viking. A novel based mainly on Beaumarchais and Benjamin Franklin. Works by Pierre Beaumarchais at Project Gutenberg. Works by or about Pierre Beaumarchais at Internet Archive. Works by Pierre Beaumarchais at LibriVox. Public domain audiobooks. The Comédie Française registers Project-E includes performances of his plays from 1680 to 1791. Texts on Wikisource. Beaumarchais. Pierre-Augustin Caron de. Encyclopædia Britannica. 11th ed. 1911. Beaumarchais. Pierre-Augustin Caron de. The American Cyclopedia. 1879. Beaumarchais. Pierre-Augustin Caron de. The New Student's Reference Work. 1914. The Insolent. Pierre Beaumarchais at Find a Grave.